Hey everyone, Ryan Ecker here with Peak Endurance Solutions. In this video I'm going to be going over a hip hitch exercise. And this is a really great exercise to help target some of those smaller muscles of your glute that don't often get worked, especially if you're an endurance athlete. As an endurance athlete, which is primarily who we tend to work with at Peak Endurance Solutions, we pretty much do everything in a linear, straightforward motion, right? For runners, it's running in a straight motion, cyclists, cycling in a straight motion, and for swimmers, you're just moving linearly up and down the pool. We don't really move laterally or from side to side too often, so sometimes some of those smaller supporting muscles in our glute can get neglected. So the gluteus maximus, most of us know, is the bigger glute muscle. But you have two smaller glute muscles that act as like a big stabilizer on the hip joint, and that's the glute medius and the glute minimus, and those are two smaller muscles that are kind of at the upper end of your glute, but they're pretty deep underneath that bigger gluteus maximus muscle. So this is a really, really good exercise for targeting those two smaller glute muscles that tend to be a little underutilized and can get pretty weak in endurance athletes. So this is a good one that I like to give to triathletes that I work with and runners and cyclists that I work with. So it just helps provide a little bit more strength to those two smaller glute muscles, thereby giving you a little bit more stability in your hip joint, which is only going to help prevent injury from the hip down. So sometimes when we have really weak, smaller glute muscles, what happens is we compensate further down the kinetic chain by doing some weird things with our knees or our ankle, and so that can lead to injury over time. So let's get into the exercise. So like I said, this is called a hip hitch exercise, and you'll see why the hitch comes after the hip. So what you're going to do is you're going to get balanced on one leg, and then you're going to think about relaxing these glute muscles and letting your hip drop to the opposite side. Okay, so you're going to let the hip drop, which is you're trying to relax those smaller glute muscles, and then you're trying to pull your hip back up by activating those smaller glute muscles. So I like to do this while I'm kind of feeling those glute muscles. So as I let that hip drop, I feel them relax, and then as I bring that hip back up, I feel them tighten up. Right, so that's what you want. So I recommend doing anywhere between 1 to 3 sets of this, just for 10 to 15 reps. Is the real focus when we're working on these smaller muscle groups, is just to build some basic strength and endurance. I'm going to go ahead and show you from behind so you can see what it looks like. So again, you're looking for whichever leg you're on, that opposite hip is going to be dropping. Right, so if I'm sitting on my right leg, that left hip drops, which means those smaller glute muscles relax, and then I contract those smaller glute muscles to bring my hip back up to be level. Okay? So you do that on one leg, and then you repeat it on the other leg. So that's the hip hitch exercise. Really good one, again, to target those smaller glute muscles. If you have any questions on this, feel free to shoot me an email at peakenduranceSolutions@outlook.com. Hope you enjoyed the video.